4, 3. You're live.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the San Francisco Playhouse. Hurrah! Normally we would hear an outpouring of 300 voices all going, yay! And of course, we're all doing that, but we're all in our own homes. So we actually do have over 300 people attending the show tonight. So we actually do have a full house, or maybe a better way to put it would be that we have houses that are full of people that need some theater, that need some live theater. And this is live because what we're going to do tonight has never been rehearsed. It's never been practiced. It's never been really even talked about. And so it's going to be an amazing journey into something completely spontaneous. Before I get any farther, I wanted to acknowledge the Ohlone people that lived on this land so artfully and gracefully over so many centuries and stewarded it so beautifully. And I hope that we can be inspired by their tenure on our land to learn to respect the land more graciously in honor of the Ohlone. So tonight we have the Zoomlets, our Monday night winter series of 6 Zoomlet plays. So the Zoomlet, the idea of the Zoomlet is it's a short play, but it's director driven in the sense that we're really interested in watching the process. And you and I will get to be a fly on the wall at what would really be a first rehearsal. And we'll hear from the director about what the director conceives the production to be. We'll hear about why the director chose these particular actors and what the director is hoping to achieve. That's what we'll do. So that's kind of follows along with the tradition of all of our shows and how our shows are selected. The artistic director picks a show and picks the director. And after that, it's the director's game. The director decides on the designers, decides on the actors, decides on the concept, decides on the staging, and pretty much takes over the entire picture. So it is really the 2 most important choices that an artistic director will ever make are the choice of the play and the choice of the director. And we've done a lot of these, and I was amazed at how many wonderful little short plays we've found. Originally, I thought it might be difficult to find little 10, 15-minute plays that would really spark our attention and bring forth a good dialogue. But we didn't really have a lot of trouble. But while I was thinking about that, I thought, well, why don't we do a little piece of a great play, a little tiny slice of a great play? And I talked to my friend Carrie Perloff about that, and we sort of decided to start a series we're sort of informally calling Classics Reclassified. In other words, we're going to take a little tiny scene from a great masterpiece, and it might be a really difficult scene. It might be a scene that nobody ever gets right. And we're just going to take a look at this little slice of a great masterpiece. And tonight, we're going to do that. We're really sorry that the playwright couldn't be with us tonight. We've had so many of our playwrights attending, but Mr. Sophocles just couldn't make it. And so we're going to be presenting Sophocles' Oedipus Rex, directed by Carrie Perloff. Carrie, why don't you come on in?
Okay. Thank you, Bill. I love this, Classics Reclassified. We need it. So thank you so much for having us. I'm just going to tell you, fabulous San Francisco Playhouse audience, just a tiny bit about why we chose this and why we chose these 2 incredible actors. And then we're going to dive in and read, but I want you to meet them right away so you can gaze at their faces while I talk about them. So please welcome John Douglas Thompson from Brooklyn, New York, and Stephen Anthony Jones, who's calling in from the East Bay, way out on the other side of the bay. There they are. It is such an honor and a joy for me to reunite with them because the idea for this began 3 years ago or whatever at ACT when we did Hamlet together. So I hope some of you remember that John Douglas Thompson played the title role in Hamlet and Stephen Anthony Jones played Claudius and the ghost of Hamlet's father. And of course, there is an enormous amount of Oedipus in Hamlet. And so we talked about the Greeks a lot. And because I never let a good actor get out of my grasp, before John left town to go back to New York, I said, Oedipus, Oedipus. And then we've had the great good fortune to be commissioned by Seattle Repertory Theater, who's doing this a wonderful idea that Braden Abraham came up with, their artistic director, of director commissions in this lean and sad time of COVID when we can't rehearse. It's a way to support artists to make work by coming up with an idea for a production even before you do the production. So thank you to Seattle Rep. We got a commission to work on Oedipus. It is an immensely rich and complex thing to work on. And as Bill said, we're going to just do one little section. And to explain it to you, I just want to contextualize in case you haven't read it since college, or maybe you've never read it and you've only read Freud. So don't worry about it. You don't have to know anything. But here's a few things I think are really interesting about it. So written by Sophocles, who was a general, a sort of magistrate in the Athenian government and in the Athenian navy, and wrote it in about 429 BC. We're not sure exactly when, at a time of plague. So we are not the only ones to live through a pandemic. During the Peloponnesian War, which is what's happening in this period of 5th century Athens, when the soldiers came home from war, they brought with them typhoid. And in Athens over that summer, there was terrible disease. And because the Greeks were sort of sitting on this strange teeter-totter that alternated between reason and religion, or prophecy and literalism, they weren't sure how to interpret that plague. Greek gods are a very complicated thing. They're not very nice. There are a lot of them. They are very quixotic, and they're often very vengeful, and yet they're quite powerful. So this is a period in Greek democracy, and I think it's really important to remember this, that on the one hand, it is the most litigious legal culture in the world, and the Greeks loved argument. So this play is built, as all Greek tragedies are, on a series of arguments in which evidence is presented, debated, refuted, and judged by the chorus, who would be the jury. So you have to imagine that there's not a single scene in these plays, certainly not the scene you're about to see, that would not have been witnessed by the chorus and then by the audience, you sitting in broad daylight, as if you were a massive jury in a trial that is putting Oedipus on trial. So one of the questions, you know the story, Oedipus has been prophesied that Oedipus would kill his father and sleep with his mother. He has grown up in Corinth. He is, of course, the adopted son of Polybius and Merope in Corinth, but he doesn't know that. He thinks those are his parents. And as the myth goes, he hears randomly a drunkard at a party saying that he's a bastard and that those aren't his parents. And he's so terrified about that he goes to consult the oracle, who tells him his terrible fate. So he flees. He flees Corinth thinking, I'm not going to kill my father, and I'm certainly not going to sleep with my mother. And he, on the road to Thebes, where the three roads meet, he meets up with a chariot that will not move out of the road. And rather than patiently waiting for that chariot to pass, he gets into an altercation and he kills the person in the front of the chariot, who is Laius, his father. He doesn't know that, but he kills him and all four people with him, and he heads into Thebes. Thebes is going through a really rough time because the Sphinx is tormenting them. And so he has to answer, anybody who can answer the question the Sphinx asks gets to be the Tyrannos. So the play is not called Oedipus Rex. Rex is Latin, Oedipus is Greek. It was called Oedipus Tyrannos, and it isn't the same meaning as our word tyrant, which has a very Putin-like attribution, which is not really what the Greeks meant. But a tyrant was sort of halfway between a basileus, who was a kind of inherited king, and an elected official. So I bring this up because I want John Douglas Thompson to think about something that is gnawing at Oedipus from the moment he solves the riddle. And you will remember the riddle of the Sphinx is what walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, and 3 legs in the evening. And the answer is man, humanity, crawling in infancy, 2 legs in manhood, with a cane, 3 legs in old age. Doesn't seem like it would take a genius to figure that one out, but it took Oedipus. And because Oedipus figured it out, he becomes the Tyrannos, and he gets to his prize as he marries the queen. This is very ambivalent and strange. And I'll just say this before we listen so you can imagine. The guy who's kind of been holding the fort in Thebes is Creon. Creon is Jocasta's sister and Laius's brother. So logically, Creon should be king. Creon did not solve the riddle, and therefore he has taken a back seat to Oedipus as Oedipus has arrived and become the tyrannus, and not only married Jocasta, but had children, 2 sons, Eteocles and Polynices, and 2 daughters, Antigone and Ismene, okay? So the weird thing for Oedipus is he's a little insecure, even though he is brilliant and complicated and arrogant. And there are many questions about his character, which John would have to spend 6 weeks of rehearsal exploring. He knows that he wasn't the inherited king. Meanwhile, there's Tiresias. Tiresias is a famous seer, a prophet. He's blind because he got in trouble with the gods, but he has the unique characteristic that he has been both man and woman. So he knows all things. And one of the things that I would ask Stephen to think about as we read this first version is why it has been all these years. Obviously, Tiresias knows. He knows everything. He knows that what Oedipus has done. Why has he never spoken about it? Why has he agreed to turn up now? And what does he expect is going to happen when he gets questioned by Oedipus? So the scene is very complicated, and we're going to play an experiment. We're going to read 2 different translations. It's a very short scene. The first translation is by a scholar at Cornell. His name is Frederick Ahl, A-H-L. He wrote a brilliant book called The 2 Faces of Oedipus about Sophocles and Seneca. And he's quite a traditional classicist, and he did a poetic version right from the Greek. Then we're going to read a more prosaic but more theatrical version, which is by Timberlake Wertenbaker, who did the Antigone that Steve Jones and I did my first year at ACT, where Stephen played Tiresias, and Stephen also did Electra, also in Timberlake's translation, in which he played Aegisthus. So we have a long history with Timberlake. And then we can talk about these 2 different translations. They're quite different. So team, let's start with the Frederick Ahls, and there's a tiny little choral section in the middle. So I'm going to mute my video, but y'all just read in that little section. And Bill and I will both go away. Stephen and John, anything you guys want to say or ask before we dive in?
No, I'm ready to dive in.
Yeah, I pretty much feel the same way. I like to just jump in and see how the water is.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see how the water is. So this is,
Okay.
The chorus has just spoken. They're standing on stage. Oedipus is very impatient because he's been waiting a long time for Tiresias to come. And Tiresias is brought in blind by a young child. And Oedipus turns to him, and here we go.
Trisius, observing all that can, taught all that defies words, objects in heaven, things walking earth. Though you can't see our city that the plague afflicts, your reasoned insight shows you it. We are, my Lord, discovering that you alone can be her spokesman and savior. Phoebus, if you have not heard, through messengers, sent us response. We'd sent to him for his advice. Release from this disease could only come if we clearly identified the men who killed Laius, and either killed or sent them in exile from this land. Now, don't hold back on what birds of omen say to you, or on such other channels prophecy provides. Protect yourself, the city, and protect me too. Protect all that's defiled by blight from this man's death. Our life is in your hands. To use what you possess, the powers you have to help, that is man's noblest labor.
Reason's power. Alas, how fearsome a thing it is when insight yields no payoff for the reasoning man. I know this, but forgot it. Or I'd not have come.
What is this? How despondently you do it.
Let me go home. If you do as I say, you'll cope most easily with your affairs, and I with mine.
You suggest is both unlawful and unkind to Thebes. She nursed you. You deprive her of your words.
I see your voice issues from you with words not apt to the occasion. I don't want mine to do the same.
Don't leave us, man of insight and reason. We all beg by the gods. We shower kisses at your feet.
Because you all don't use your reason, never will I state what is best to avoid revealing your bad news.
What is this you say? You know but won't speak? You intend to hand us over to our doom and ruin Thebes?
I cause myself no pain and cause you none, so why keep cross-examining? You couldn't delve it from me?
You evilest of men, you temper a heart of stone. You just won't speak? You will appear, yet show yourself inflexible and leave your duties unfulfilled?
You mind my temperament, yet have no eyes to see your own that lives within you, and you then blame me.
Who would not lose his temper when he heard such things? You are dishonoring the city with your words.
All will come out the same if I leave silently.
If it will come, should you not spell it out for me?
I would not add another word. And if you wish, respond with all the wildest temper of your heart.
And my temper's such that I'll withhold nothing I've grasped. For you should know that I believe that you helped father this act, and all but did the act yourself, apart from killing him with your own hands. If you just happened to have eyes, I'd claim you'd worked alone.
Nothing eludes you, eh? I tell you clearly now to stand by your pronouncement from this very day. Speak neither to these people nor to me again, because this land's unholy, sickly curse is you.
You see no shame in spreading talk like this around? Where do you believe you'll now go to escape?
I have escaped. I nurse knowledge that nothing eludes.
Who taught you it? Your trade's not known for unelusiveness.
I'm sorry.
Who taught you it? Your
again?
trade's not. Who taught you it? Your trade's not known for unelusiveness. Who taught you it? Your trade's not known for unelusiveness.
You taught me, nudged me to speak against my will.
What was it? What was it you deduced? Restate it, so I'll learn more.
You didn't grasp it the first time? Or you're testing me?
Not well enough to understand. Say it again.
These murderers, these men you hunt, I claim they're you.
You will not speak such slander twice without regrets.
Should I speak on to fan your temper even more?
As much as you feel need, but you'll be wasting words.
It eludes you. It eludes you. I claim how vilely you engage with those most dear, and you don't see the evil that you're in.
You believe you'll always get away with talk like this?
Yes, if there's power in knowledge, nothing can elude.
There is such power, but not in you. In you, it's dead. Blind in your blocked up ears, blunt brain and eyeballs blanked.
You are pathetic, slandering me with just those taunts with which so soon no one will fail to slander you.
Child of unbroken darkness, never could you harm me or any other human life that sees the light.
Your doom is not ruined by me. Apollo can manage. It's his concern to get all this fulfilled.
Creon or who came up with these discoveries?
Creon's no problem to you. Your problem's yourself.
Riches, a tyrant's throne, and skills surpassing skills others possess, all making for a deep envied life. How great the jealousy that keeps you under watch. I did not ask the city to empower my hands as her first lord. She gave me power. And now Creon, a trusted friend from my first days as ruler, yearns to seize control and throw me out. He secretly creeps up, works in a plot-weaving, king-making fraud, treacherous liar with an eye only for personal gain, but born blind in the skill he would profess. Well, tell me, where have you proved clear-sighted as a seer? How was it when the riddle singing bitch was here, you uttered nothing that could save these townsmen then? That was a riddle which required prophetic skill and not an accidental passerby to solve. But you did not come forward with your birds or words from any god that could have made sense of it. Yet I, Oedipus, no wit of knowledge, then passed by, and I defeated her with shrewd thinking, not learned bird lore. And you now try to throw me out, for you believe you will stand close to Creon's clique and Creon's throne? But I believe you'll weep, both you and he who planned this witch hunt. Were you not, I do believe, senile, you'd have learned through suffering what your insight meant.
And the chorus says, our guess is that his words were spoken, Oedipus, in temper, so we believe were yours. This is no time for such disputes. Rather, one should review how best we can all analyze these prophecies from God.
Though you're the tyrant, still at least equality must be allowed in equal time to make response. In this respect, I too have some empowerment, for I live as Apollo's slave, not yours. I won't sign in to have Creon as spokesman speak for me. I speak since you have slandered me for my blindness. You have eyes but don't see the evil you are in, or where you dwell, or who you share your dwelling with. Do you know whose child you are? Does it elude you too that you're a foe to your own kin, dead and alive? That your mother's and father's curse now stamps doubly down on you with fearsome feet and will someday kick you out of this land? You see before you now. Then you'll see darkness. Oh, what place won't harbor your screams that day? Won't Citharon's echo sing with you when you have learned the melody of your own wedding hymn with which you sailed such smooth sailing into a wrong birth? A host of other evils you don't grasp shall then assess your status as the same assigned your sons. So counter that by smearing. So counter that by smearing Creon and by stuffing filth into my mouth. No mortal man exists who will tread an eviler path than you or ever will.
Must I keep hearing these intolerable slurs from him? Just go to hell. Go back where you came from. Leave this house and make it quick. Get out. Be gone.
I never would have come if you'd not summoned me.
I did not know you'd spout such idiocy. If so, I'd not have hurried to invite you to my home.
We are what we were born. Idiots, you believe. Your parents, however, thought my insight rational.
Who were they? Say! Who in the world did father me?
This day will father you. It will destroy you too.
Your words are all excessively riddling and obscure.
Weren't you born best at finding out what riddles mean?
Keep scourging me with things like this. You'll find me great.
No, it was luck, pure chance. Now it's wiped you out.
But if I save this city, I don't care. So be it.
I'm leaving then. You, child, convey me on my way.
Conveyed away? Oh, yes. Here on an underfoot, your trouble. If sped off, you couldn't cause more pain.
I'm leaving. Once I've said what I came here to say. Your mass does not awe me. There's no detail on which you'll wipe me out. I say to you, this man you've sought lately, threatened and publicly outlawed, this man, this Layan killer, he is here. He's here with us now. Word is that he's an alien resident, but soon he'll show himself as Theban-born, but won't be pleased by the results. For now he sees, then he'll be blind, now rich, a beggar then, his scepter a staff, groping his way into a foreign land. He'll show himself to his own sons as one who's lived as their brother and father both, as son and spouse to her who gave him birth, who's sown his seed where his own father sowed and killed his father. Go inside and figure this out yourself. Go inside and figure this out yourself. And if you catch me in a lie, claim then that in the mantic art, I lacked reasoned insight.
Okay. Good. So, Stephen, when we go back, can you tweak your camera a little bit so we can see more of your face and less of your profile? Is that possible?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if you can. Oh my God. Okay. I had
Yeah, now I see you.
Well, what do you thoughts? Do you have thoughts about where that's?
Well, I mean, it's very funny. Certainly, as an actor, you approach this, let's say, on a very first reading, a read through, and there is you feel like there's a bit of an engine behind it in the sense that he does come to an anger or a frustration or an impatience so quickly that you tend to go with that, and that kind of drives you through the scene. But there's a lot more, so that on an initial pass, you can get seduced by the anger of this particular guy, but he's also quite charismatic. But I find that as we were going through it, I was like, oh, I see from this first pass why he is the way he is because he doesn't really know himself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay, so that's the $1 million thing, John, that I wanted to think about as we do the scene again is the underbelly of the whole scene is who fathered me.
Right.
And that fractured self, that sense that he carries with him of not knowing who he is, which is such a painful thing to carry in his life. The reason he's vulnerable, and I think you can find Oedipus's vulnerability even in the anger, is that he knows he doesn't know who he is, and he's talking to somebody who does know, or might know, because Trisius knows everything. So it's humiliating to have to ask him to stay, but the main thing that drives Oedipus's action through the play, the only freedom Oedipus has, if he is fated to do this terrible thing, is to find out the truth. That's the action of the play, right? He wouldn't have to. If he weren't this character, the action of the play wouldn't be to pull out the truth. But that's who he is. And sometimes you think he should have shut up and he would have died happy, but the play would have gone on. So I want you to think about that. Like how humiliating that is. And the other thing I'd love you to think about, because it's different for you, Stephen, because you can't see the chorus, but you know they're there, is for you, John. Think how humiliating it is to be talked to this way in front of the citizens of the town. Right?
Oh, yeah. No, not that I haven't, because he keeps he keeps on going, and certainly I have the power to stop him, being the ruler, but I don't.
And
But
you
there
don't,
is, and it's
because
public.
that's it. And I know that's incredibly hard to do on a first read and to do in Zoom, but I think
Oh, it's
the
impossible.
thing that makes it, when he says to you that thing about I see under your mask,
Right.
obviously that's a sort of pun because the Greeks perform theater in masks, but the metaphor is, I see the mask of your political self,
Right,
and
right,
underneath it all, I know it's a lie.
right.
But what you're trying to do is show the people that you're in control. And I think sometimes when people do that, they behave in ways they wish they hadn't, but they're trying to,
That's where I think the anger,
That's right.
the steady relentlessness of the anger is in an effort to show those around him in this very public dressing down, if you will, that he is in control. And I even see points in the script, and it's not something that I could do at this early in rehearsal, or certainly on this medium, where he speaks not to Tiresias, but to the people that are there, i.e. the court or townspeople or whatever, in an effort to turn them against Tiresias, which would make him feel better about the situation. So he's using all these, it's not straight anger, it's a number of various tactics.
Yes.
That he's going to deploy one by one by one.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he wants to, at least to Tiresias, to say, you don't see me. You can't see me. I am not what you think I am. Right. Or I am not vulnerable to you, Tiresias.
Right.
And I'm not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. But that's exactly what it is. He is vulnerable to Tiresias. I'm sorry, Stephen.
You're extremely vulnerable to me. Now, the question I have is, I guess in the past, you have summoned me and asked me why it hasn't rained for 2 months, or
right.
And I have, and I wonder if I don't, like when he talks about what the birds tell me. I wonder if I don't kind of dress things up,
Well, they believed in the oracles of the birds. I mean,
but
very much
a bird didn't tell me this.
No,
a bird didn't tell me this, and the truth of this is a horrible truth.
This is a horrible truth.
This is a horrible truth.
Yeah, yeah. And on the other hand, let's just try this just because we're just playing. We're going to do Timberlake. But here's something you said before, Stephen, when we were off camera, that I wanted to pick up on because I thought it was really interesting, which is that you know the long game of Thebes, right? You know that when you go, Thebes goes. You know that you see the future. Oedipus doesn't know his past. Therefore, he doesn't understand his present. Therefore, he has no vision about the future, except that he's trying to hold on to his own power. So it's a very different argument for you, Tiresias, because actually you do see it all. And frankly, I think, I don't think you have such a high opinion of Oedipus. You didn't think it was so brilliant to, there are lots of reasons why you didn't answer the Sphinx. You could have if you'd wanted to. So why didn't you? Maybe it was to teach the Thebans a lesson. Do you know what I mean? Maybe it was a corrupt society and you wanted to see. But anyway, since the last version we did, you played Tiresias, you really let him get enraged and you laid back, John. Let's flip it a little bit and see what happens if you push him, Stephen, towards self-knowledge rather than punishing him. You don't need to punish him because the gods have punished him. Push him to learn about himself. And if not, you know what? It doesn't matter to you. The truth will come out. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be you. So you are not vulnerable to him the way he is to you. Right?
I really think I'm being very honest when I say I didn't want to come here.
That's right.
You
Mhm.
want to come here.
I
It's
did
only
summon
because
him.
you
I summoned him.
me.
I,
Yeah,
s-
you
I
summoned me. So,
as an
so
effort
I,
to address what's going on with the town. I did the same
Yeah.
thing with
Yeah.
who
And-
came first.
That's right. And so, Stephen, although you are blind and you can't see the chorus, I think one of the things that's important, rather than losing your temper, is to remind everyone that there is a bigger universe than this man, and that there are truths out there, which, take it or leave it, you can see, that are driving this, and that, you know, if they were religious and they knew it, they'd believe it. You know, and in fact,
now,
there's a part of me, Stephen, that thinks you're relieved to finally tell him the truth. I don't know.
okay.
Hmm.
But just before we start,
Yeah.
FEU, what
Oh, no.
what is it?
Feyu. Feyu.
Feyu.
Feyu. Yes, we should say that Timberlake leaves a few things in Greek. Feyu means
Yes.
alas.
Yes.
She
I have
doesn't-
been looking. I spent half a day looking for faith.
Okay.
I was
you-
wondering what that was too. I assumed it was something like alas, alas.
Yeah, yeah. You
I
should have.
tried to remember. I swear I think it came up. It's come up before.
Oh,
but
yeah. She
anyway.
does this a lot. She uses the sound of the language because it's very ritualistic. Yeah. Yeah. So here's the Timberlake.
Are we going to do Timberlake this
We're
time?
going to do Timberlake now.
Okay, good.
And I would just say, you know, she's an amazing playwright. She does also read Greek, but she's not as it's a slightly more immediate, prosaic, direct version, perhaps, than the Frederick Giles. So see what that feels like to you.
Okay.
And then we'll talk. So you know what you're playing? Yeah. Okay. So we're
Mhm.
starting at the bottom of page 11. Tiresias enters. After the chorus says, the man who can convict him is being led this way, the man of truth, the divine prophet.
Tiresias, you can fathom many things, hidden, manifest, heavenly, earthbound. You do not see, but you know the affliction that wraps this city. And now only you can protect us. Only you can save us. We are instructed by the God to find the killers of Laius. You have probably already heard this. Please withhold nothing. A message from the birds, another form of divination, and rescue yourself, me, and all from this terrible pollution. We depend on you. The man who applies all of his resources, all of his faculties to help others is a noble man indeed.
For you. To understand, and there is no good in understanding. I had known, I had let it go. I wouldn't have come here.
What's this? So despondent.
Let me go home. You'll live out your life more easily, so will I.
It is not right or friendly to speak like this to a city which keeps you. You must not hold back.
Your words are ill-judged. I don't want mine to be.
Don't, when you have knowledge from the gods, turn away from us. We all prostrate ourselves before you. We beg you.
You all know nothing. I cannot reveal my troubles, yours.
What? You know something but won't speak? You will betray us and ruin the city?
I won't distress you or myself. Why do you tease these things in vain? Will you not listen to me?
Evil of evil men. You'd anger a rock. Won't you speak? Won't you come to the point?
You complain of my temper. You don't see what you live with.
Who wouldn't be angered listening to you insult the city?
It will happen. I wrap it in silence. Even then,
Ought you not to tell me what will happen?
I won't say any more. Burst with anger, if you wish.
I am bursting with anger because of what I now understand. Yes, I think you are the one who planned this deed and executed it, short of killing Laius with your own hand. And had you your eyes, I believe you would have done it on your own.
Is that the truth? And I tell you that you ought to obey your own decree, and from this day forth, never again speak to these people or to me, because you are the noxious pollution of this land.
You spew out these words and hope to escape.
I have it. The truth is strong. I have it.
Who taught it you? Not your craft.
You did. You pushed me, unwilling, and I said it.
What? Say it again. I want to learn more.
Didn't you understand before? You want more?
Not well enough. Say more.
I say you are the murderer you seek.
You won't escape with these infamies.
Shall I say more and increase your anger?
As much as you like. Waste our time.
I say that you, unaware, unconscious, without shame, have been consorting with your loved ones, and you do not see towards what troubles you are heading.
You think you can say all of this and keep enjoying yourself?
If there is any might in truth.
There is. Except with you. You are blind in your ears, your mind, and your eyes. There's nothing with you.
You're pitiful to throw insults at me, which you yourself will hear soon enough.
You're fed by darkness. How could you hurt me or anyone else who lives by the light?
I do not need to bring on your fate. Apollo will do that. It is in his care.
Are these inventions yours or Creon's?
Creon is not your calamity. You yourself are.
Wealth, power, extraordinary skill, and a reputable life. Their envy lies in wait, watches you. Now, for the sake of a throne I never craved, Creon, once loyal, a friend from the beginning, Creon now stalks, sly, and plots to overthrow me, and secretly hires this juggler, this quack, this magus, completely blind as to his so-called skill, but sharp-eyed when it comes to his own gain. Yes, tell us about your wise prophecies. What did you have to say when the riddling Sphinx dog howled her rhapsodies? How did you release the people? It wasn't just any man who could solve the riddle. It needed divination. Where were your twittering birds then? Where was your godly knowledge? But I alone, I, Oedipus, knowing nothing, I stopped the Sphinx, learned the answer by thought, not by the twitching of birds. And now you want to get rid of this man, me, so you can stand behind a Creon-filled throne? If you didn't look so decrepit, I'd make you suffer. Yes, you'd feel the full weight of your thoughts.
And the chorus says, "It seems to me this man and you as well, Oedipus, have spoken in anger. There's no need for this, but rather we need to consider how best we can be free of the god's pronouncement."
You may be the master here, but there exists an equal right of reply. I have that right. I am not your slave, but the gods, nor am I Creon's hireling. And I say this, you call me blind, but you look with your eyes and can't even see where you're going, what troubles lie ahead, nor do you see where you live or with whom. Do you even know your parents? And you don't know that you are abhorrent to your own. both below and on this earth. And a double-lashed curse from your mother and your father will one day with a swift and terrible tread chase you from this land. You see now, you see straight, but then darkness. There will not be space enough in this whole region to hold your cries. No, your tears will lap the slopes of Kithaeron. When you understand your marriage, this haven you sailed into, seemingly lucky, no haven at all, and you do not sense the quantity of other troubles swooping down on you, making you the equal of your children, scoff. Hurl your insults at me, at Creon. No mortal before you will have been so miserably ground down as you.
Do I have to listen to it anymore? Why aren't you dead? Turn away, turn back.
I wouldn't have come if you hadn't called me.
If I'd known I'd hear such moronic words, I'd have asked you not to hurry.
I seem mad to you, but I'm wise to your parents, those who gave you birth.
What? Which mortal gave me birth?
The day that begets you also destroys you.
You speak only riddles and obscurities?
Aren't you the best qualified to read them?
Laugh. You can't belittle my accomplishments.
Chance. And chance ruined you.
It doesn't matter how I did it, as long as I saved the city.
I'm going now. Lead me, child.
Yes, lead him away. I'll feel lighter when you're gone.
I'm going. I'm not afraid of you, and I'll say what I have to say to you. You cannot destroy me. And I tell you this, the man you seek with your threatening proclamations claiming to instigate a long search for the murderer of Laius, that man is here, believed to be an alien, but he will be revealed a native Theban, and he will not rejoice at this fact. Once he saw, now he will be blind. He was rich, he will turn beggar, tapping his pitiable way on the hard ground of foreign soil, father and brother of his own children, son and husband of the same woman, mingling his seed in the same place as the father he murders. Go inside, examine this, and if you find I have lied, then say I don't understand prophecy.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. It's so interesting with such a different translation, what things come out. What did that feel like in your mouths? It's kind of by comparison, I'm curious.
But for me, it's certainly more actor friendly.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have thought that, because I discussed it with you a couple of days ago, and I thought that the previous version we read sounded or felt more actor friendly, but the words and the way the words are in this script with Timberlake Werdenbaker are much more actor driven, feel better in the actor's mouth as far as communicating thought. I still feel even in both readings now, having dealt with this script for less than an hour, it's very important, less than an hour, that there still is a temptation for me at the moment in time, less than an hour once again, and it's in the script, in both scripts, to really ride this place of frustration and anger. But I do believe it comes from what I started to realize in the second script, the Timberlake Werdenbaker script, is the man is just insecure about everything. So he's very good about putting up a front, and maybe that's the challenge in playing the part, in putting up this front that nothing gets to him. He's even insecure with the riddle that he solved.
Yeah.
Was that really chance? Was it just luck?
Right.
You know, and here I have this empire, I'm the king. He's very worried about his parentage, where he comes from. So everything that Tiresias has to say, I believe Oedipus has been thinking about, with the exception of the specific nature of my doom.
Yes.
I'm basically a hunter hunting myself, but I don't know that it is me that I'm hunting. I'm trying to be very diligent and call in the right people to show the people in the town that I'm doing everything to resolve this issue. But it is clear that he's very insecure. I mean, dealing with the script for an hour, that's probably the biggest takeaway from me. He's insecure about every major aspect of his life.
Bill is asking on chat, it's interesting why, why Oedipus, why the scene keeps going on, why Oedipus doesn't just drive Tiresias away. What holds, why does he not only keep him there, but in fact, call him back? And why does Tiresias stay? Which would be,
he wants to know, he wants knowledge, he wants, I mean, it's a very tricky thing because yes, he could walk away. But the only reason I could come up with why he stays there in this moment is he wants to know. No one else can give him this information. Whatever the relationship he has with Tiresias, there is some understanding and some respect for divination, for the oracle and all that sort of stuff. Now, he plays at it, and maybe Tiresias has come to the knowledge, or not Tiresias, but Oedipus feels, I need to shame this Tiresias. I need to shame the whole industry that he represents, everything he stands for. I need to prove that divination and all this bullshit oracle stuff is purely bullshit, and we're moving on to a new. We no longer need to feel respectful about that information. But yet I want it.
Dart that you lob at him, and Stephen, I really saw that this time. It's like kind of landing it on Jello because he isn't vulnerable to your attacks. Like when you say, you're the one who planned this, and I bet you're complicit. Tiresias just says, is that the truth? Well, you ought to listen to your own decree and never speak to anybody, because actually the pollution, it's you. So it's partly really fascinating that you accuse him of things that do not wound him.
No, but I mean, the reality of it is everyone there knows the story except me.
Yes.
So in to a certain degree,
well, no, the chorus doesn't know. The chorus
the chorus doesn't know, but I mean, this is a story about my coming to grips with who I am. And then gouging out my eye and all the horrible stuff that I do. So people start to know that I'm the last it's like I'm the last person to know.
But what's interesting is
telling you, I say to you, when I say you are the noxious whatever
pollution.
Right.
Now, you are the noxious pollution,
and I don't want to believe it.
And I say, you didn't hear me,
right?
You didn't hear me.
Tell you again.
I'm giving you.
He tells me 4 different ways in this scene. He tells me,
but
4
I'll tell you
or 5
something that's
different ways.
really fascinating about the play. You think, well, the jig's up. It's only the first 5 minutes of the play, and he's already said it. But as soon as you leave, there's a choral ode, and the chorus hasn't really heard it either. They say, we don't believe Oedipus is evil. We love Oedipus. Oedipus saved us. We went through a terrible time. And you, Oedipus, are the one that we love. So what's interesting, and this goes to this moment in history that we're living through, is how do you get people to believe the truth? This is about fake news and real news and who gets to speak the truth. And if this man, Tiresias, is discredited because the chorus thinks he's an old has-been who believes in the birds, whereas Oedipus is this charismatic, handsome, brilliant intellectual who has saved them, they don't hear it. And honestly, it's really strange because Tiresias says it as clearly as he can, but it takes the whole play. For the chorus to actually say, oh my God. And the remarkable thing, when the chorus finally hears it, instead of being outraged at you that they've been duped by you into suffering, they feel nothing but pity and love for you. So the play is endlessly strange and surprising.
Oh, yeah. And that's a very contemporary thing because we've seen those people.
One of the things that struck me this time, and it just jumped out at me.
Yeah.
Do you know who your parents are?
Right.
Do you know who your parents are? And it's funny because right now, as you said, John, with less than an hour with this scene, I'm blind. In this version, I did not really feel that I spoke to the chorus. I think I spoke to the chorus one time.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, I'm talking directly to you.
Yeah.
And it in the playing of it, it'll be very interesting because I never look at you. I can't see.
Right.
Yeah.
I never, and part I think of the difficulty that you have in reading me is because my eyes give you nothing.
Right. Right. And
My
so
eyes
I
give
can
you
only
nothing.
I could only then try to when I get too much of it, try to go discredit you, which is a political move, right? That's what we do to
course.
our adversaries.
Well,
We discredit them.
I say in front of everybody, you're the problem.
And
Yeah,
what's
I
so
said, this guy's
interesting is,
crazy.
from your point of view, John, it's very hard to discredit him by accusing him of power mongering because he's not interested in power.
Right.
So, you know,
That doesn't work. That doesn't work. But
and
the
so
other
you try
thing,
all these strategies, like you think
yes.
you're going to escape, and he says,
Right.
"I already have escaped. I
right.
have escaped. I have no
But-
skin in this game." And that's such a fascinating dynamic, because I think for politicians who are interested in power, which is you and Creon, the scene with Creon is going to be very different, right?
Mhm.
When you accuse Creon of power and he says, "Hey man, I love being number two. I don't want your job." But he understands power. With Tiresias, what makes this scene so tricky is he doesn't want the power, and he doesn't need your approbation.
No, he doesn't. I do feel that there's a paranoia, certainly for Oedipus.
Yeah.
And I try to get him with the Creon thing, that he's in cahoots with Creon trying to overthrow me. Obviously, Tiresias is not interested in power. And as you said, Creon says, listen, I'm happy being number two. So that doesn't work. But then I got to stake some claim in his profession. And then I got to talk about what I did and why he could, if he is a true seer, he should have been able to do what I did, but he didn't.
And you would have had, I know, Bill, we need to stop it. You would have had the Athenian audience, John, on your side, because this was a period where they were getting really annoyed with prophecy and divination and all of the superstition. And they wanted to say, this is a democracy. This is a legal system. Aren't we bigger than this? We don't believe in this stuff.
Yeah.
So
I could ride that train.
You could ride that. Oh, there's so much we can do, but I know, Bill, we need to leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Bill.
No, don't be sorry.
Amazing.
Just an hour. Just
amazing.
an hour. Just
that was
an hour.
amazing. That was just wonderful. I just found myself, marveling at the power of denial.
Yes.
That hit Oedipus's capacity for denial.
Yes.
But it's not denial. He doesn't know.
He doesn't really denial. It just seems inconceivable to him.
Yeah.
It can't be him. Why is he saying it's me? It can't be me. I didn't do it. So
that has to be played. That has to be played, or else there's no play, right?
Exactly.
So it just has to be played to the nth degree, and that would probably be the challenge for the actor in how many ways can you play this? But Carrie is right in the sense that it's like, well, he doesn't know. So there's ignorance, right? It's like he truly doesn't know. He gets little bits of information, but I feel that the idea of really wanting to know his parentage, like, am I an alien? Like, where do I come from? Can someone tell me? Because that will help him put some things into perspective. But I do feel there's paranoia, and I could play denial, but to a certain degree, I don't know what I'm denying because I don't know what I don't know.
No. And actually, what's so moving is if he has any fatal flaw, it's his desire to learn.
To know, to learn.
Now, people say his fatal flaw is his arrogance, and maybe that's true, but he's a very brilliant man.
Yeah.
So why doesn't he know? And I think all of us as human beings spend our lives creating the narrative of our own life that makes sense to us, that makes our life have meaning. So if our life doesn't have any narrative,
we have to make one.
We have to make narrative
up. To make one.
And that's what the play is about. It's incredibly moving to
Well,
discover.
it's very interesting to be the one who knows.
Yes.
Yeah.
As I'm sitting here, and that is slowly kind of beginning to soak in, I say to him, the alien's not an alien.
Yeah.
It's going to turn out that the alien was Theban born.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't say you're the alien. I did say that you're the noxious pollution,
Yeah.
you know, and that those lines and those kinds of the ways that I give you the information are affected, I think, by the fact that I do get a little pissed off.
Yeah.
Particularly when you talk about where were you when the Sphinx was here? How come you didn't figure that out? And I just go, you know, that was some bullshit. You know that was.
Well, then you
nothing.
tell me it was just chance. You're like,
Yeah.
there's chance, luck.
No, that's, come on.
Yeah.
Anybody could have done that. Rookie work. That was for
That was rookie
rookies.
work.
Yeah.
Rookie work.
All right. Well, Bill,
This has been
That was just spectacular.
thank you for giving us the
Spectacular,
chance.
both of you.
yes.
Thank you.
Stephen,
Yeah.
Stephen, I
Thank you.
really loved how just like I do not want to do this in the beginning. No, I just do not want to do this. You
Like,
know,
stop asking questions. Just go home.
Don, I think it's so amazing to see the vulnerability because Oedipus is always, you know, shut the fuck up, get the fuck out of
Yeah.
here. Who are you talking to? But you were
Yes.
I always could feel your heart, and I always could feel your. Just tell me, come on.
Yeah,
I need to know. You know, is this really?
that's an important aspect
It's an
that I'll work
incredible-
and develop.
Play for this
Vulnerability.
moment as we
Mhm.
really
Definitely.
think about what is the
Definitely.
price of truth and
You know,
do we want
somebody
to
I was talking to the other day about this, and it's just a layman that he isn't really a theater scholar, but he wonders, was Sophocles actually writing about in a democracy, about the dangers of single person rule? About the
Absolutely. And the
Oh, yeah.
tragedy
in a way,
is,
it's actually about the dangers of
It
one
is.
man being in control.
and the
Mhm.
tragedy is that shortly thereafter, the beginning of the end of the Athenian democracy happened. The
It
Peloponnesian
did
War
happen.
brings the whole thing to a
Mm.
halt. And and anti-democratic forces are already strongly at work here. And by the time he writes Oedipus at Colonus, he's living
All
in
over.
exile, and Athenian democracy is over. So it's incredibly
Wow.
poignant
Wow.
as we think about the impeachment proceeding starting tomorrow. To think
Yeah.
about
Starting
Oh,
tomorrow,
yeah.
Tuesday
Yes.
morning on the East
Yeah.
Coast,
You
probably
said
around
the
10
I word.
a.m.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
all.
you, guys.
Thank
so
you.
much,
Thank
Carrie,
you.
John.
wonderful
Just
to be with you
fantastic.
all.
Stephen, you guys are such great actors.
And
Thank
give
you.
Thank
money
you.
to SF Playhouse.
Yes, yes. And thank
Yes.
you all so much for tuning in to this wonderful show. I just wanted to give you a heads up. Next week, our Zoomlet will be Give Her God by Candace Jones. And it's going to be a wonderful play, a brand new play, never been performed before. And so we'll be going from a 2,500-year-old play to a play that was born today. You know, that's how we roll. Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you who were generous enough to make a donation when you bought your free ticket. And we cleverly have a little pop-up that comes up there and says, how'd you like to make a donation? And you did. And it's great because we pay everybody that does these. And it helps actors with a little income during this crazy pandemic time. And for those of you who didn't actually donate, when you got your ticket, there's a clever little thank you email that you'll get too, which is thanking you for attending, and you'll have another opportunity to make a donation. So we'll see you next week for Give Her God. It'll be directed by Elizabeth Carter, and Candace Jones is a really, really exciting young playwright. We were really seriously considering a play of hers last season called Flex, which is an amazing play. I also want to let you know another piece of exciting news. Tomorrow, we have our first rehearsal for our next actual staged on the theater, photographed, filmed, full-length play, Hieroglyph by Erica Dickerson Dispenza. And this is going to be directed by the inimitable Margot Hall. And it's going to be a co-production with the Lorraine Hansberry Theater. So we just couldn't be more excited about this first rehearsal tomorrow. So you'll be hearing more about Hieroglyph. I think one of them really just incredibly exciting new voice in American theater, Erica Dickerson Dispenza. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.